The screaming metal was the first thing Jonathan Cross remembered, not his own screams. Though he would learn later, his vocal cords had torn during the Violet Awakening. No, this was the death wail of his ship, the EDS Retribution, her hull groaning under wounds no vessel should survive. The cryopod's emergency release finally yielded to his blood-slick fingers. The stench assaulted him next, burning insulation, spilled coolant, and beneath it all, the coppery tang of frozen blood. Status. He tried to demand, but his throat produced only a ruined whisper. The ship answered anyway. "Welcome back. To the end of the world, Admiral." Her hologram flickered above the pod, the normally crisp naval uniform projection now glitching into grotesque shapes. Behind her, through the cracked cryobay viewport, Mars hung like a corpse, not the red planet he remembered. A blackened skull with glowing cracks where the consensus's planet killers had punched straight through to the mantle. Earth? He already knew. Gone, along with Luna Colony. The Jovian habitats and every ship that stood with them. Except us. Cross forced himself upright. His atrophied muscles screamed in protest. The other cryopods told the story. Commander Lee's face frozen in a final scream behind frosted glass. Ensign Carter's pod melted into slag. Lieutenant Vargas floating past the shattered viewport with ice crystals blooming from her eye sockets. How long? 17 years 4 months. 2 days since bombardment. They called it the Great Sterilization, 6 hours. 43 minutes to wipe out 300 billion lives. A tactical map appeared in Cross's retinal display. They missed 12. The star chart pulsed with 11 other blinking red dots, human signatures scattered across the dead colonies. The closest? EDS Vengeance, 0.7 light-years away. Commander Elena Vasquez commanding. Cross remembered her sharp smile from the last War Council. The way she'd leaned across the table, eyes burning. If Earth falls, I'm taking the vengeance straight down their throats. The ship shuddered violently. Ah, they've noticed. We're awake. Through the ruined bay doors, Cross saw them, 7 silver needles sliding into attack formation. Consensus warships didn't bother with names. ANDR 7781 through 7,787 moved with insectoidal precision, their weapon ports glowing the same sickly violet that had scoured Mars. Time to intercept? 6 minutes, until firing range. I've awakened the surviving crew. Such as they are. The door hissed open to reveal Chief Engineer Ramirez supporting a limping medic. Behind them, a dozen hollow-eyed survivors clutched scavenged weapons. All that remained of the Retribution's 1,000 souls. Ramirez met Cross's gaze and spat blood onto the deck. Consensus drones already boarded us. Took out life support. Decks 5 through 9. He hefted a plasma torch. We got him though, mostly. Cross took the offered sidearm. The weight felt alien after 17 years. Options? Theoretically, we die. A new voice crackled through the ship-wide cum. Human, female, vibrating with rage. Cross? Jesus wept, you're alive? Vasquez's face appeared on every surviving screen. The Vengeance's bridge burned behind her. But her grin was feral. We've got 5 minutes before those silver bastards are in range. You awake enough to die standing up? Cross studied the tactical map. The Consensus had every escape vector covered. Except one. Set course for the Proxima Exclusion Zone. Silence. Then a chorus of protests from both crews. That's suicide. Exactly. They won't follow us into a graveyard. Actually, they will, but there's something you should see first. The main viewer switched to long-range scans of the zone. Not empty space as expected. Thousands of derelict ships floated in perfect formation. Vulpine dreadnoughts, Andromeda scouts. Even Terran colony vessels, all dead. All open from the inside. And at the center, a transmission pulsed through the static. One repeating word. Hurry. The lights died as the consensus opened fire. The first plasma round tore through what remained of Deck 12. Cross barely registered the heat as he sprinted through the corpse-littered corridor, his boots magnetizing to the shuddering floor plates. "Ramirez, where's my evasion?" The engineer's voice crackled through the cum, each word punctuated by the shriek of tearing metal. "Engines are at 18%. We've got maybe one good burn before." The ship lurched violently. Cross's head slammed against a protruding beam. Blood blurred his vision as the emergency lighting stuttered, revealing the nightmare outside the viewports. The Proxima graveyard, not just ships, thousands of them. Vulpine dreadnoughts with their distinctive spiral prows. Andromeda scout vessels still glowing with containment field residue. Terran colony arcs with their great generation pods burst open like rotten fruit. All silent, all dead. All violently opened from within. Then he saw it. Between the derelicts, something moved. Not a ship, not debris. Something vast and jagged, its edges refusing to stay constant. One moment it seemed all sharp angles, the next it flowed like liquid. The stars behind it. The stars bent around it. "Admiral," the message changed. The comms erupted with screams, not from his crew. From the consensus ships. And DR-7781's transmission reached them first. A Vulpine voice shrieking in no language Cross knew, yet somehow understood, the walls between. Then the ship unfolded. Not exploded, not tore apart. Simply came undone at right angles that shouldn't exist. Its silver hull peeling backward through dimensions human eyes couldn't comprehend. Cross's retinal display flashed crimson as the remaining consensus vessels opened fire, not at the Retribution, at the thing among the wrecks. Plasma beams that could core planets, bent like candle flames in a hurricane. Then the void spoke. "Little weapons." The voice vibrated through Cross's bones, through the ship's hull, through the atoms of his blood. "You are late to war." The last thing Cross saw before unconsciousness took him was the stars, blinking. White noise, that was Cross's first sensation. A hissing, formless static that seemed to permeate his very skull. Then the pain arrived, his neural implants burning as they struggled to interpret signals no human nervous system was meant to process. He was floating? No, the Retribution's artificial gravity had failed. He drifted near the bridge's shattered viewport, strands of his own blood forming perfect crimson spheres in the air around him. Outside. Outside was wrong. The Proxima graveyard still surrounded them, but the derelict ships now formed perfect geometric patterns, their wreckage aligned along invisible axes that made his eyes water, and at the center it had called itself Eschaton. The entity defied description. At times it resembled a vast, jagged mountain of black stone. At others, a swirling vortex of impossible colors. Most often, it simply wasn't there, just a distortion in space that whispered directly into his hindbrain. "Admiral, it's been speaking to us, in our dreams. In the static between atoms, it says we were expected." Vasquez's transmission cut through the haze, her voice raw. "Cross, our weapons are alive. The railguns keep changing targets on their own." Then Chun, hysterical. "The stars, look at the stars." Cross forced himself to the viewport. The constellations. They'd rearranged. Not just the visible stars. The entire galactic arms structure had shifted into a configuration matching the scars on his DNA scars every human carried. The precursors built gardeners, the consensus. They built scythes, the Eschaton. They built you. A vision exploded behind Cross's eyes. A war older than stars. A prison built from twisted spacetime. And sleeping in every human cell. A key. His neural implants flatlined as his DNA began rewriting itself. The changes started small. Cross noticed it when reading damage reports, his comprehension speed tripling as symbols unfolded into deeper meanings. Then came the dreams. Not his own memories, but theirs. Soldiers from forgotten wars, screaming in languages dead for millennia. Vasquez found him in the ruined medbay, injecting himself with stolen nanostimulants. "You're killing yourself," she hissed, grabbing his wrist. Cross looked at her with pupils so dilated they swallowed the iris. "No, I'm remembering." Across the broken fleet, Ramirez welded precursor alloys that moved beneath his torch. Chun's eyes bled black as she deciphered Escaton's star maps. The Vengeance's AI developed a stutter, and then a second voice. "They're coming. The Consensus has mobilized the Andromeda 13th Fleet, 12,000 vessels. They'll be here in 6 hours, Cross finished. "Time enough." He activated the fleet-wide comm. His voice emerged changed, layered with something older and colder. Humanity was never meant to be victims. We were the scalpel waiting to cut out the infection. Today we remember how to cut. The derelict ships around them, powered up. The Consensus fleet arrived as spacetime itself began unraveling. ANDR 8843 fired first, a planet killer beam that fractured into prismatic shards before reaching the retribution. The shards lived. They twisted back through light years to impale the firing ship. Vasquez's scream over the comm wasn't fear. "Our nukes are singing. The warheads keep changing yield signatures." Ramirez, laughing madly as his tools melted into new shapes. "The ships want to fight. They're hungry." Cross stood at the center of the storm, his body flickering between solid and something else. The scars on his DNA burned as Escaton's voice merged with his own. "The precursors feared what they built. They chained me. They lobotomized you. Today we remember." Reality became a hall of mirrors. Chun piloting a derelict Vulpine dreadnought with her mind. The Vengeance firing black holes like bullets. Cassandra's hologram splitting into infinite versions. Then silence. The last Consensus ship dissolved into fractal patterns. Escaton's voice faded. The first war ends, the next begins. Cross looked down at his hands. They glowed with starlight. Epilogue: the fire waits. 3 days later, the first distress call arrived. Not from Consensus space. From beyond. A single phrase, repeating in perfect Terran English. "The harvest is coming." Cross stood on the Retribution's rebuilt bridge, his eyes reflecting galaxies. Behind him, the hybrid crew, part human, part something more, waited silently. Vasquez, her irises now starburst patterns, handed him a star chart. "They're calling from Andromeda. But the coordinates are impossible. That's not where Andromeda should be. The precursors lied about more than our origins." Cross traced the altered constellations. The message kept repeating. The other message, the one only he could hear, whispering from his rewritten DNA, was simpler. "Hurry.